I want to thank you for listening to The Negative to Positive, which is brought to you by our good neighbors at State Farm. If you know me, you know I'm all about the real deal with State Farm. You get the real deal. Great service and surprisingly great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Ha ha. Stelio Chico Pitbull, Mr. 305, better said Mr. Worldwide. And you already know that we're reporting live from, yes, Slam Public Charter School in one of my old neighborhoods in Miami, Little Havana. I got the beautiful, sophisticated, very sharp Jennifer Valdez.
Hello.
Yeah, we're playing musical chairs this time.
Next time.
I'm not for nothing. I like you better next to me than Paul.
Oh, Paul.
And then the one, the only, the legend, the living legend, DJ Laz.
That right there is my friends. Thank you very much.
And today, who we got on the podcast on Negative to Positive, and for me, it's amazing to have him here because, you know, all of us, I feel, share similar stories on how we've come up and found a way to take the word no, you're crazy, it's impossible, it'll never work, I don't know what you're thinking, you'll never become that. And he took it and has taken it to a whole nother level. And this is a person that has not only revolutionized what it is fashion, how to take it from the street to the corporate ladder and still keep it street and hustled his whole way through, and then took that same hustle onto Shark Tank now, which they're now on 12 seasons. And I was actually there when they first started talking about it, which we will talk about. So I want to say thank you to our next guest, Daymond John. I appreciate you for being here, my friend.
Thank you. What's happening?
What's up, Dame?
Everything good? Yeah, you already know.
We're about to get into it.
Oh man, that's good to hear, man. So D, first of all, where you reporting from?
I'm from Cole. I'm in Cole, New York. I'm upstate New York in the middle of the woods, and it is freezing up here.
Well, I wish I could say the same, but we're not.
Sunny, beautiful South Florida.
Yeah, you know, it's for Miami folks, for us to, it's cold when it hits about 70.
Yeah.
As you see, I already got a little jacket on. It's maybe like
no, it's 25
72
degrees here right now.
Woo, woo. That's when you know your testicles go and become raisins.
It's like, man, where are these things? What are this? What's going on right now?
Look at D.
That's like,
Nah, man, but hey, enough of the playing around. I wanted to get you on so that you could tell your story on how you took Fubu, and which is, for everybody out there that doesn't know, stands for us, by us, all right? How you took Fubu with the team, took it to a whole nother level, right? And revolutionized what it was, I would say, urban streetwear, and because you guys were one of the first ones to be able to take it to major department stores and make it, because it's one thing to put out a line, it's another to make it culture.
100%.
And that's what Fubu was. And I also would love for you to talk about the hustles that you had where it was with LL Cool J and when he rapped about it in a Gap commercial. So basically gave you a look on a Gap commercial. I'd love for you to talk about that. And then we'll get into, as far as I know, you have Black Entrepreneur Day. We'll talk about the books. And then we'll talk about how you flipped it into Shark Tank, man, which is one of the biggest shows literally in the world right now. Congratulations on that. People ask me all the time, oye, Armando, una preguntita. Quick question. You an original recipe guy or you an extra crispy guy? And I tell them there's not just one way to be. You can't just be one-way artist, a one-way businessman. I like all the flavors because I'm a man that knows all the flavors. Feed your whole crew with KFC, let's go. I can get the KFC bucket of chicken and you know, that's fire! Now, Babu, you know that you could get that mac and cheese, that mashed potato, gravy, those biscuits. Now that's trouble right there. That is fire right there. Pero mi madre, que rico. It's a home-cooked meal. You don't even have to cook. You know, on Negative to Positive, we always talk about striving and achievement. And Colonel Sanders was more than just a cook. He was an entrepreneur. He was driven. He was rejected. And mind you, the Colonel Sanders story is a story that inspired me since I was 10 years old. Look how our life comes full circle. Now I'm talking about Colonel Sanders and Kentucky Fried Chicken and how much I love it. Que rico.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for supporting me in it and being on on one of the early episodes. And people are like, wow, this is not just for the stuffy. This is for people who want to be brands and understand it, right? And they got all kind of people on here. So thank you for being part of it. So, listen, I'll just jump really into it. And it's a long story, so I don't want to make it long. I want to make it as short as possible, and then we can just open it up, and unravel it. But for the audience who's listening and stuff, right around when I was a kid, my parents' life happened when I was around 10 years old, and my father would leave. I would never see or speak to him ever again. And I decided to become the man of the house at 10 years old. No brothers, no sisters. I didn't want to see my mother work that hard. And often during the winter, when it was like it is now in New York, for a week at a time, we wouldn't either have electricity or we wouldn't have gas, one or the other. We could never have both. We never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It was only one way or another, having to bathe out of a pot that you put on the stove to, But, I just wanted to always work, and I wanted to take care of my mother. I don't think anybody wants to see their mother work that hard. But there was this, as if we want to talk in the lingo of today, there was this new emerging technology that was coming out, and it was called hip hop.
That's right.
And it was, at that time when I was, 10, 12 years old, I never saw what was happening in the streets of Miami and Little Havana or in the streets of Compton, because they didn't show that on the 6 o'clock news. But through this new form of music, kids didn't have to play an instrument or harmonize, and they were communicating through this music about their hopes, their dreams, their loves, their aspirations, police violence, everything else. And I realized that people, all around the country, all around the world had the same plight that I have. And hip hop, as ain't something that you listen to. It's something you live. It came with a way to walk, talk, and dress. I don't care if you want to call it ebonics, bebopping, or whatever the case was. And every time we would buy clothes, there was a functional reason we were buying clothes back in the days as kids who were hip hop. If you were breakdancing or popping, you needed the pants to come down really tight on the bottom so they wouldn't hit during a windmill. Or if you only had one red pair of jeans and you wanted to stay clean and look clean, you iron them things every week. But then, you sometimes don't catch the mark. So now you got 30 lines in your red jeans that look crazy. So what do? You go and get a pinstripe all the way down it, like you sew a little line down. So anyway, it came with a way to look. And if Pitt, you was walking across the street and I was walking on the other side, and I didn't know you, but I saw you rocking something a certain way, I knew what you listened to. I knew the clubs you wanted to be. I knew the cars you wanted to drive and all that kind of stuff. And it was a way that we were communicating without having to communicate.
Yes, sir.
But I found that these designers that we were buying from and maybe it was a rumor at that time, I don't know, but they didn't like black people. They didn't like Latinos. They didn't like hip hop kids. They didn't like kids from inner city. You know what? I'm making a pair of 32. So why the hell are you buying a pair of 36? I don't want you to do it. I'm going to take your money, but I ain't going to mess with you. And I got offended at that.
Yeah.
Companies like Timberland were like, well, we don't make our boots for drug dealers. Well, if you technically make the best boot in the world and you selling it to construction workers or hikers, you shouldn't be making a pair of kiwi or strawberry Timberlands. You're making it for us. You know what I mean? So I came up with an idea. I'm going to come up with a company called Forest Bias. It's not about only a color. It's about a culture, because I didn't want to be a bigot the same way they were. I would dress third base. I would dress Beastie Boys. I didn't care what the color, as long as you was ill and you was somebody we could respect on the street. And I remember it was 1989, Good Friday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I stayed home. I made some hats that looked like a ski cap without the ball on top. It's a tie on the top. And I saw it in a De La Soul video.
I had some of those.
I went out and I stood on that corner, 1989, Good Friday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I sold $800 worth of hats.
The stocking caps, you saying?
Stocking caps.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
saying to myself, I made these hats with my own hands. With my ability to sell them, and I am never going to work for anybody else after this for the rest of my life. Okay, so what? I had to get a job at Red Lobster for 5 years. at least the idea was there.
At least it was Red Lobster.
But it wasn't cool. I got to tell you, I was inspired by a guy named Carl Kanai and a company called Cross Colors prior. So I'm not the one who created this market, and it was me seeing somebody else who look like me. Like a lot of the kids right now are looking at you, they're looking at Jennifer, they're looking at everybody, and they're saying, wow, I can actually achieve this goal. But I didn't know that goal until I saw that happening. Yep. And I got to tell you something. I grew up where, and a lot of my buddies, Irv Gotti and Hype Williams, and all our buddies around us were the people that they made the movie Belly about. Yeah. So most of the people around my neighborhood were Supreme and Carly and the guys they made the movie Belly about. They were drug dealers. So when it wasn't fly at that time to make clothes, black designers weren't fly. I was perceived as gay. which is not a problem in anybody's sexual preference, but at that time you thought a designer was somebody like Lagerfeld or somebody like that who was French or Italian, flamboyant.
Yeah.
So when cats was telling me, yo, we got to go over here and take this bag, and I'm like, well, I ain't going to do that. They'd be like, yo, we got to go move these rocks. I'd be like, nah, yo, dog, I just got this strawberry pattern, and I'm about to go home and make some shirts to display.
And sell these stocking caps.
And make 800 in one day.
Yo, D up there knitting scarves over here? We trying to. So they stopped talking to me.
Oh, man.
But I found other people. I found other dudes who was like, oh, nah, hold on, homeboy.
I see the hustle, yeah.
I see the hustle, but not only that. When we go to a video set and they kick everybody else off, D be like, yo, I'm over here dressing an artist, homeboy. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm up there hollering at the video chicks. I'm eating the free food.
Yeah.
I'm watching L and all them perform. And I'm from Hollis, Queens. So who comes from Hollis, Queens? LL Cool J, Run DMC, Salt and Pepper, Lost Boys, Tribe Called Quest,
Yes.
Onyx, everybody, Keith Sweat,
Irv Gotti,
50 Cent, Ja Rule. I was on all kind of video sets. I was having a good time watching the world's most famous artists, or the most famous artists as far as I'm concerned, do their thing, getting my hustle on, and slowly but surely I was doing something I love, and I was slowly building something that I never thought I would be able to accomplish. But I blinked my eye and 10 or 15 years passed, and all of a sudden I had a global brand. Now you and I can go back and forth over to the hardships because there was plenty of hardships. But that's the origin of my story, and it was just an amazing time, and I found a passion and drive that at the time it wasn't popular to be that person. But that's what you got to think about, something that you really love and you want to do. You got to find the people that believe in that, not the people who tell you that that's whack. You know.
Right.
I agree, 150,000%. And it's funny when you speak about things such as cross colors and Carl Kanai. And I used to wear the fake cross colors, actually, when I used to live in Carroll City. It's called Revolve. Yeah. That's all you could get at the Carroll Mart. You could get Carroll. It's a flea market down off 183rd Street. But it's true what you said. You could look at somebody and you knew that, all right, no matter where you're from, what you represent, how can I say, no matter color, creed, race, ethnicity, religion, it don't matter. You're like, okay, we listen to the same music and we relate to the same music because we're living the same life one way or another. And I tell people all the time, when it comes to a neighborhood, nobody cares if you're black, white, pink, purple, orange, Latin, Asian, Italian, Jewish. It doesn't matter. Because the only thing when you're in the neighborhood, everybody respects one thing, the color green, and you all get along through poverty. That's how you end up helping each other. That becomes your culture. You're poor, I'm poor. It don't matter where we're from.
Now let's figure out how to make it.
Exactly. If you got bread, I got sugar. If you making a stew, you're making a stew for the whole block or for the building or whatever it may be. Today's episode is brought to you by Clorox, which we call El Cloro. When it comes, when it counts, trust Clorox. Always. That's something we all grew up with. I mean, you hear me laughing because that's all I would hear coming up as a little kid. Oye, coge el cloro, ten cuidado con el cloro. Oye, el cloro, coge el cloro para limpiar eso. It was just something that was always needed, always used, and always trusted. The same way that we trust those on the front line right now in these crazy times to give us the right care for our families, we trust Clorox or El Cloro to give us a safe, protected home. I'll say it again, El Cloro, because I want to make sure that when you guys listen to this, you guys know in Spanish what El Cloro means. Make sure everything is disinfected. Growing up, if you're from the Latin community, Latin culture, o para todos los latinos allá afuera, tú sabes lo que estoy hablando cuando hablo del cloro. So, para que todo esté claro, usa cloro. That means so that everything is clear, always use Clorox. In my family, they've always used it to disinfect everything, and there's a reason for that. It's important for me to share how to make sure your loved ones are safe. And that's why I say, when it counts, trust Clorox. So it's crazy how I would say now that fashion and what it's become, it's almost like the opposite. It's hard to see who's really going through something or not sometimes. You know what I mean? Since it's become so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I would say. But clearly you guys were a part of that. And when I speak about that commercial, so for nobody that they don't know about it. So LL Cool J did a Gap commercial, and that was pretty much the first time that they brought in, let's say, a quote-unquote rapper to do a commercial where he's rapping the whole time. And this commercial had to be running all the time. It had to be, I don't know what the campaign behind it, how many millions of dollars behind that Gap put behind it, let's just say, right? And in the rap, he's wearing Fubu, and he's rapping about Fubu on a Gap commercial.
Wow.
He says, for us, by us, and he puts it in the rhyme.
Yeah.
Now, how did you hustle that?
Now, I wish, I think that is the night and day difference of what you call a partner or an influencer. You know, we didn't know Elle was going to do that. And Elle at the point, you know, like we had created a movement and there was this frustration that people were having about people trying to exploit the culture that we love so much. And Elle felt that when he called them, that they had that coldness. Yeah, what's your name? LL Diddy?
Doo-wop, yeah.
Whatever your name, Diddy Doo-wop. Yeah, just come do the ad. And he was like, I know, but I got a funny shaped head. Can I wear this hat that, you know, yeah, whatever, come on in. So he goes and he does a rhyme and he says in the rhyme, for us, by us, on the low. Because he does a cappella. Now, all those people who didn't understand the culture, they clapping. Oh, it's crazy. And you know what I mean? It airs, they spend $30 million in airing this ad over the course of a month. And we sitting there every day in the office, we're going, yo, I can't believe this. Like, this dude did not catch on. And I think they said it was a dude who, like a dude from FedEx or somebody, they said, or UPS came in the office one day and somebody was talking to him. He was like, yo, I love that Fubu commercial you're doing. They're like, what are you talking about? Yo, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what's up. And he told them what's up, and they pulled the commercial. Now,
oh man.
Here's to their, you know, listen, I got an ego and I'd have felt crazy about it. So they fired everybody, obviously. And the people that remain, like the head of the company, they did their analytics and they found out that the target market they were trying to hit, this was their best time ever, their best year ever. The African American Latino market, it increased 300% in their stores because everybody thought they can get Fubu at the Gap.
So you drove traffic there by default.
They called us up. We gave each other a big old sloppy wet kiss, no tongue, and they spent another $30 million re-airing that ad.
That's
wow.
Well, yo, that's an amazing story.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you hard work pays off, man. And I always tell people, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And it's about being at the right place at the right time. But if you everywhere, then one way or another, you're going to be at the right place at the right time. And that's one thing that I always remembered about Fubu. It was showing up in videos, showing up in movies, showing up in commercials, showing up in the neighborhood, you know, and that was the difference of the hustle than what it is now. I think like on these platforms and this sense of instant gratification, that's the difference of building, I would say, a name, number one, building the brand, number two, but then becoming culture, number three, and that's what you did with Fubu. And then taking it now, and clearly you've seen the show Shark Tank.
Definitely.
Well, funny story is a friend of mine that introduced me to Daymond. His name is Teach, and Teach was a big part of my career, one of the first managers in my career. And
what up, Teach?
yeah, one time for Teach, one time for House of Mac. Yeah.
House of Mac.
Yeah, and when he introduced me to Daymond, we start talking in the whole nine, and it was about maybe a month or 2 months later, Daymond's like, hey, we got this idea for this show called Shark Tank. I want to bring the producer to it just so you guys can meet. It wasn't about me being on it. It was more like, hey, what do you think about this idea? Which I thought it was genius, but I didn't think it was going to take off the way it did. And now you guys have revolutionized not only television to a certain extent, but businesses and also the public on how they look at business, how they break down businesses. Because it's no longer about just a big number. Now people think percentages. Oh, what's the percentage I can get off that business? So how was it that you got involved with Shark Tank, or how did you even see the vision behind that when they pitched that to you?
You know, I really got to be honest. I didn't see the vision behind it. When they pitched me, I think so. But let me say how people can learn. So whether it was me creating hats to stand on the corner and sell, and not thinking about a Fubu, once I got to a certain point in my career, I believe that a lot of people needed to see who I was, and not in a public stage, but to understand who I was as a young dyslexic, you know, kid who came from nothing, who got left back in school, didn't go to college. And I wanted people to see that I didn't have money. I didn't have a famous last name. I do have a famance last name, but if I call Elton John to tell him I'm his son, he ain't gonna believe me for various reasons. But I wanted people to see who I was, so I started writing books on, and being dyslexic is hard. I started writing books on, you know, my life and how I created Fubu. And I started then going on really small networks and small stations just to want to share my story. And then Mark Burnett, the producer, was looking at because they couldn't fit me on. I wasn't known as this dude right here. They were like, yeah, we got a slot at 5:45 a.m.
Right.
I was just getting in from the club at 5:45 a.m. You know what I mean? So, but they put me on, and then Mark Burnett, the right people are watching at the right times.
Gotcha.
You know, he was watching at 5:45 a.m. and he was like, I like the way you know how to break down a pitch. I heard you have a bunch of clothing lines, so you like to invest. I got a new show. It's already #1 in Japan and Canada and other areas. Do you want to come on the show? And I was like, all right, no problem. I'll check it out. And then they said, well, you got to spend your own money. And I was like, yeah. Click. That's it. I am.
I'm out.
I'm like, these pimps in Hollywood are bad. I mean, I heard about not getting paid, but now I'm paid?
Right.
It was crazy.
Sign me up.
And then, like at that time, I was doing all the product integration and basically for people who are watching, if somebody was watching something on a reality show or a TV show or video, that's how I really made it in my career. I was doing all that for 3 girls that nobody knew of who was coming, who was opening a store called Dash named the Kardashians.
Look at that.
Wow.
And I was doing this show for them and I was placing them in all the stuff. But I walked them all around town to like a lot of my boys. And I was like, yo, you got a jean line. It's a huge jean line. For $75,000, I will have all 3 of these girls and their mother wear your brand for all these episodes. And they were like, they'll never work. They'll never be anybody. So if you look, I said to the girls to save face, I said, yo, wear my brand Coogee. So if you look at the first 3 episodes, three seasons, they're only wearing Coogee. And I was kind of working with them in representation. So I said to Mark Burnett, I said, yo, I got to go on this show for like 3 episodes. And they were like, well, you can't do any other show but ours. So I said, well, respectfully, I'm a businessman. I got to pass. And then Khloe Kardashian found out that I was going to turn down Shark Tank because of her. And she fired me. She said, I never want to get in your way. And then I called up Mark Burnett and I was like, all right, I'll do the show.
There you go. Look at that, man. See, a lot of people don't know about that story right there. And now you're going, on 12 seasons?
Amazing.
Now we're going on 12 seasons, 5 Emmys deep, and being able to invest in other people's dreams and see people smarter than me on that carpet who ain't gonna let anybody in life stop them. As an entrepreneur, as a hustler,
yes,
that carpet don't care about your color, gender, sexual preference, creed. It is the ultimate equalizer.
It's very true.
I have a question for you. Circling back to how you grew up, how did you not fall into the game, and how did you have enough confidence and drive to stay in your lane against all odds?
That's a good point. I had a loving mother who loved me and showed me. I had really good friends that even when they were doing bad, they said, don't hop in the car. And I did the math. I was 5'7". I was really, really cute. I didn't want to go to jail. It wouldn't have ended up good. I was keeping it 100. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I did the math one day and I said, an average drug dealer in my neighborhood, if they made an average of, let's say, $50,000 a year, and you look over the course of 10 years, but they're in and out of jail. So they really only are in and out of jail. And so they really only get 6 years in. So they have approximately about, $300,000, but then they have another $100,000 in lawyers' fees. And then they got $200,000. They got no medical, no coverage, no nothing. And they could potentially get shot and they always got to look over their back. You make more money working in McDonald's.
Or Red Lobster.
Wow.
Yeah.
I said Red Lobster. For sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't worth it for me.
Yeah. We're all in a strange place right now. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like there's more to do than ever. To me, that's where I would say Postmate works its magic. Postmates is how you can get food delivered without leaving the house. Postmate, what it created is no-contact deliveries. So now when you order from your local restaurants, they'll leave it on your doorstep. What the app does, it lets you know, basically, boom, you're ready. They also have a pickup option. So it's important that we support and uplift our communities right now. And you don't necessarily think about it like this, but a great way to do it is just ordering some food. But it's not just food. You can get whatever. And when I say whatever, it's whatever you need from places like Walgreens, 7-Eleven, and Postmates will drop it off right outside your front door. Yes, that's right. That's called front door delivery service at its finest. So for a limited time, Postmates is giving everybody that listens to Negative to Positive $5 off your first 5 orders for your first 7 days. To save $5 on your first 5 deliveries, download the app and use the code Pitbull. The code is Pitbull for $5 off your first 5 orders when you download the Postmates app or sign up online. The way I put it is anything you need, anytime you need it. Postmate it. Well, it's crazy that we have somebody in common, and you mentioned him earlier, which is Irv Gotti.
Yeah.
And Irv Gotti, somebody that changed my life. It was first of all, it was the teacher that gave me the invitation to the video shoot at a DMX featuring Dragon Rough Riders video shoot in '98. And it was Irv Gotti that when I finished battling Dragon, he came up. He's like, "Hey, let me ask you something. You the one." And mind you, I'm doing this very candidly because Irv is very animated. He's like, "Yo," Irv's like, "Yo, come here, man," you know. And he's like, you the one causing all this ruckus up here?" And I'm 17, 18 years old. And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you write music?" I said, "Nah, I just freestyle." He said, "Yeah, that freestyling shit is great, but it don't make no money." And that was the light bulb. Boom. And I said, "Man, I got to start writing music." So it was due to Irv that I started writing music.
That's crazy.
And then he gave me my first chance. He said, "Hey, if you make it up to New York, I promise you a chance in the booth." You know, I had just started writing, and about a year later, I was hitting Irv. I kept hitting him up. And finally he said, "If you make it up to New York," which I went up in a Greyhound, and I stayed in Washington Heights, stayed on one of my dogs, you know, one of the floors, slept on his floor for about 2 weeks. They taught me how to take the train. Went to go see him in the studio where Jay-Z was recording I think it was Hard Knock Life 3, if I'm not mistaken, Volume 3, or Blueprint. That's what he was performing, recording. And Irv was working on the Murder, Inc. project with Ja Rule, Black Tie, Black and Cadillac Tie. Cadillac Tie. And what was the girl's name? She was good too.
Shanti?
No, Ashanti Wolf.
No,
the rapper, yeah. Shanti knocked it out the park.
Yeah, I forgot.
She was in Belly also. I forget her name right now. But either or, I could walk in there and Irv makes beats. He's a producer. Mm-hmm. He's the one that brought Jay-Z, Ja Rule, and DMX to Def Jam.
Gotcha.
Okay? So I go in there, Daymond, and he says, "What's up, you like this beat?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "All right, go ahead, jump in the booth. Let me hear what you got." Let me tell you something, partner. When I got in that booth, my mouth started chattering so hard. I was
a hi-hat.
I was so, what it sounded like, but like a down south hi-hat, you know, one of those hi-hats. My teeth were chattering so hard I couldn't get the rhyme out. I got Ja Rule in there, Jay-Z's in the other booth. I said, "Man, my career's over with." And Irv was basically saying like, "Nah, you ain't ready yet, partner." And I wasn't, but I took it as man, you know, I got to be ready for these kind of opportunities.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. So next time Irv seen me, I was down at Luke's studio in Miami, and he heard me rapping in the booth that time. When I came out, he said, "See, now you're ready." And it's crazy how Irv was somebody that took a lot of acts that maybe not too many people either believed in because of their backgrounds, DMX, a Jay-Z, and then Ja Rule had a different business deal with another record company, which became complicated, you know. But he took that, and when he took it over to Def Jam, he made Def Jam $500 million in 1999, if I'm not mistaken. And hip-hop was #1 over country that year with all the records that they were putting out. So it just goes to show you between myself, Daymond, and Irv, Laz also, and Jennifer, you on your way, girl. You're on your way. I know you're on your way. It's all about going against the grain, and no matter what they tell you, just knowing that in the word impossible is possible.
Definitely.
You know? Now, another thing, since I'm reporting from Slam, and who would ever thought a kid that didn't graduate from high school would be at his own school being able to talk to you, and I think it's a perfect time to bring up Black Entrepreneur Day. So what exactly does this embody, Daymond? What is it you see? What's the vision? What's the goals? And how can we help in any way, shape, or form?
Well, just mentioning it is great because, we've seen what's going on in all the neighborhoods. And this is nothing new to any of us who grew up in the neighborhood. This happens to be just new to everybody else. And as they say, racism didn't just start. People are just filming it now. And a lot of us have a heightened attention or a heightened sensibility right now to what's going on. And no matter where you are, you can make a change. And I said to myself, man, nobody's talking about Black Entrepreneurs Day. So about 3 months ago, I just said, why don't I come up with something called Black Entrepreneurs Day? I realized nobody trademarked Black Entrepreneurs Day. I put it out. I called all my buddies, and I'm going to probably call you for the next year. I had on there Gabrielle Union, Shaq, D. Wade, and Bob Johnson and LL. And then also I got like Chase Bank and everybody support. And I gave away $250,000 of scholarship grants to people. And I just highlighted people like Shaq and D Wade and people who said, yo, here's where I messed up in life. I hate hearing everybody's, that story, their sizzle reel, right? So we were sharing each other's bloopers reels from things and it really went well. And we got, the analytics is there. There's a lot of people that supported it. But I wanted more people like the people right there where you're at, in that school, to see that you can actually make it, and think outside the box. And that's just it. And every single one of us can create a small change. I love what you're doing with the charter schools. And I don't think a lot of people know about the people who are in front of the cameras, what they're really doing in the back of the camera.
Yeah, and like you say about the sizzle reel, and most of the sizzle out there is all sizzle, no steak. To be honest with you. And as far as that, Daymond, you could definitely count on me. You got to let me know, obviously, what you're thinking about next year. And where did you pull it off this year at? Was it through Zoom?
It was all online. We got 8 million views and we got 2.5 billion
impressions.
Media impressions.
Wow.
So, just to put the awareness out there, man, and it's a good thing. And then you were gracious enough to be in my last book that also became a New York Times bestseller book, Power Shift, to tell people how during these times, you and I did that interview a year ago, and then all of a sudden, when it dropped in March, right? As soon as COVID dropped, about people having to shift, right?
Yep.
But it wasn't that I couldn't foresee that COVID was happening, but reality is there's two type of ways to think about this world. The world either happened to you or you happened to the world. And ever since the Declaration of Independence was signed, there's been 47 major events that has happened in the world, whether it's world wars, Spanish flu, .com bubble crashes, planes crashing into buildings, coronavirus. Listen, 5 years from now, or maybe 2 years from now, aliens are going to come down and treat us like stone crabs and eat all our left legs and let us run around on our right.
Oh, they don't want my left leg.
I think you got the best left leg.
They're coming for you
gonna
first.
leave me alone. They're like, hang now.
You're going to be like that little kid in the movie Z. Remember with Brad Pitt? That all the zombies ran right by him?
Yeah, exactly. And he was up there.
No, what's wrong with my leg? Why don't you like this one?
So something that happened. How are you going to be paid? Listen, you can only control what you can control.
Yeah. Yes.
And you can't. And that's what Pitt and all of us are talking about right here. We, Laz and Jen, none of us was gifted anything, man, and we had to just do it. And we're in control of our destiny. And the kids got to know that. Don't let all these other people tell you different.
Nah, and especially in this society where I just break down two words, and you're right as far as it's all about how you pivot, reinvent, re-challenge yourself, and it's survival of the fittest. When the going gets tough get going. And clearly that's what we're living now, but we've lived it our whole life. They call this a pandemic. We grew up in an epidemic. It was a cocaine, AIDS, crack, heroin epidemic that we were growing up in, which always taught us how to pivot. And it created that intuition that you were talking about earlier as far as, and it's good that some of your dogs that would tell you, now, you know what, don't get in this car. Yeah,
right.
Get out the car right now. This one ain't for you. Because they believed in you, and they knew that at any time in one of those cars, you're looking at 10 to 15 years, 25 to life, depending on, how dirty people are riding or what they're about to get into.
Yep.
This is Negative to Positive, and I know you're absorbing all the knowledge we're putting out there. Our mission is to educate, inform, and also make sure you have a good time while we're doing it. And we're brought to you by State Farm. So keep in mind, when you're planning your future, they're going to get things right when it comes to insurance. Now, it's important to have a little extra change in your back pocket. So I'm taking a minute to remind everybody. State Farm has great service and surprisingly great rates. Check them out when you have a minute. They're going to get things done the right way. This podcast is all about elevating ourselves and changing from negative to positive. When we were looking for a partner for Negative to Positive, I came up with State Farm, and I want to tell you why. 3 reasons. Number 1, we're going to get knowledgeable agents. Number 2, you're going to get great service and great rates. Tremenda sorpresa. And number 3, you're going to get the real deal. Because like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And number 1, number 2, and number 3, that's everything that Pitbull embodies. I'd advise highly that you check them out. You know what it is. Now, as far as today's society, as they live, they say what social media is the socializing, what reality TV is the reality. So therefore, you don't have really kids that are doing this anymore, having this conversation, look at each other in the eyes, give each other a firm handshake. Well, I know nobody's giving handshakes right now, but but where I'm going with it is they live by these 2 words. It's followers and likes. And I tell them, man, hey, you don't want to be a follower, and who cares if they like you or not? What you want to be is a leader and unique. Leaders make a difference. Leaders are the ones that take risks. And my teacher, Hope Martinez, who changed my life, and you'll hear me always talking about it because it's the truth, she told me the biggest risk you take is not taking one. So in these times, you got to be ready to take risk. You got to be ready to feel uncomfortable, because that's what makes you create solutions. I've always said an oppressed mind is a creative mind. When you put somebody and you just keep choking them, and the system's against them, somehow, some way, they figure out and they create their own system, which is controlling your own destiny, what Daymond's talking about. So to all the kids out there that are listening and to everybody out there that thinks that instant gratification exists, I'm going to say it again and I'll continue to say it. It does not exist.
Nope.
Just like perfect doesn't exist. Imperfection is what, if you put that word and you space it out, what is it? It's imperfection. So you got to own your life, got to own your story, and got to own the ride, bottom line, especially with what's going on right now. And like you said it, we could call it a pandemic, scandemic, plandemic, whatever, but may or may not be. We won't know the truth till 3 to 5 years from now when everybody figures out there's like, oh, wow, that was real, or we all fell for the okie doke. And I don't understand as people continue to follow the rules and regulations, the numbers just keep spiking. So usually when I tell you to do something, it works.
Right.
But that's a whole nother story, whole nother conversation. But Daymond, with that said, in the books that you've put out, in Shark Tank and what you've been involved in, Fubu, how you took that and made it culture, what do you see now? What are you looking at right now? I know we've done speaking engagements together, which is, I love that world, by the way, I really do. I love to speak to people that are hungry, ready to, because me doing a concert, you got about at least 25% of them out there hating. They ain't even want to show up that night. Man, why am I going to come check out Pitbull? I don't want to see no rapper.
They bought a ticket.
Or either that or they got somebody that brought them with them, or the girl wanted to go, they didn't want to go.
Perfect. Then they become a fan.
Oh, you already know.
That's the
You already
best.
know that's the lick. But half of them, they're hating. And mind you, if nobody's hating, that means you ain't doing nothing right.
Bingo.
I'm all about that. But when you're at a speaking engagement, where people are in there hungry for knowledge, hungry for jewels, hungry for gems, hungry to make their life better, it's a whole different environment and ambiance. So how did you start getting into the speaking engagements, Daymond?
Well, it initiated with the fact that I started writing the books, and then Shark Tank happened to come after that. But I knew that, my version of paying it forward and God's gift to me was the fact that I can be humble and be vulnerable and show people that you don't need to be this kind of person. And I wanted to inspire people. And I felt that as a student of life, a lot of stuff that I went out there and read or looked at, I felt intimidated. The books were too, the words are too big, whatever the case was. Not meaning that those people didn't want to enrich your life, but who was gonna ever talk to you like you and I? Like all three of us are talking, or four of us are talking. Right. Like we sitting on the step. You passed the 40 over here. I got the pork rinds. But let me tell you something. You know what I mean? And that's what I wanted to see. And you know what? I was gifted the fact of being on a show that all colors and all genders like me. So it wasn't only me talking to one. It was me being able to talk to rainbow people, and as well as seeing them relate to me, a black male, to say, hey, like Pitt, your music does the same. It shows we have more in common than we have apart. And when you start to educate people simultaneously on, emotional intelligence, racial intelligence, and various other things, as well as inspiration, you just create a better place, and it feels good. Now, honestly, I'll be very honest, man. When I come back, I want to be, in shape with a lot of 3 or 4 girls on stage, talk 2 different languages, and be able to get like, good Lord! I want to do that. But for the moment, I'm really happy where I'm at. But it's great to see an audience. You know better than I do, man, to see that you made somebody's day or night, and you took them out of their whatever their challenges were just for that moment, you know what I mean? And, and you see that you do that, and then you see them down the road, they write you or they text you or they see them, they be like, yo, I was in a place, man, you took me away for a minute or you changed my life. That is the most rewarding thing in the world, to know that you've been able to do that to people. And that's what I like, That
to me is, it's all about that moment, like what you were saying. And Irv changed my life in a moment. Hope Martinez changed my life in a moment. And to see that, yes, it is priceless. And even like when I'm, it's gotten to the point in the school when they see me, they're just like, oh, there go Pitt. It's oh, there go Pitt. He's going to say the same thing over again. We get it. But to be able to look in their eyes and being able to understand their story without even having to have that conversation and know what they're going through at the crib or in the neighborhood, one way or another, and to give them a place, number one, where we believe in them and give them opportunity for the future. It's the same way I feel when I'm in the speaking engagements and looking out in that stage. You're seeing people out there just hungry. Like, I know you're going to say something that's going to change my life. And one of the things that Pac says, and I always repeat it, he said, I'm not the mind that's going to change the world, but I am the mind that's going to spark the mind that's going to change the world. And that's the same way I feel about everything that we do. And any platform that we could get on and share our stories, I go back to, especially in these times, especially in this society, especially the way things are going, driven / controlled. And I say it, phone gets smarter, car gets smarter, TV gets smarter, speaker gets smarter, we get dumber.
Yeah.
You know? So what we got to do is always be ahead of the game, ahead of the curve, ahead of the 8 ball. And the more people we put on the game, because as it is, like dope money, what comes quick leaves quicker, right? That ain't our game. That's not Daymond game. That's not our game. It's about a slow, but a for show. A faux show, a fuss show, and a fuss shizzle.
But Pat, I want people to also realize one thing, because they think when you get to a certain level in life, you stop learning. I think there's some of the great things about when we go up on those stages is we're interviewed by people, we get amazing people around, and we're still learning simultaneously while we're teaching. And I think that is also inspirational. And I want people to all know that, like, life is a series of lessons, a series of mentors, and a series of accidents. And you learn that stuff when you're on stages, you know?
You got to say it one more time. Daymond, how does it go again?
Life is a series of lessons, a series of mentors, and a series of accidents.
Oh, man. Yeah, failure is the mother of all success.
Question, as a student of life, what has been your biggest lesson?
Well, there's been 2 or 3 lessons, but one is, the old saying, money is a great slave but a horrible master. And we learned growing up in the hood that a lot of people have fell to believing that the only thing that that defines them is money. Also going back to money is learning financial intelligence. The kids right now in school, a lot of schools, some schools do teach financial intelligence, but schools need to teach financial intelligence the way they're teaching shop. I'm not sure if you and I, Jennifer, are ever going to need to ever build a birdhouse, but we're probably going to need to balance a checkbook, whether it's a company or at the house.
Definitely.
And, you need to know how numbers work. And I think those are the 2 things that have really been the biggest lesson I learned, because money makes the world go round, but it's not how much you make, it's how much you retain. Tony Robbins, a good friend of Pitts and I, tells a story about a man who grew up who was born, just got out of slavery. The highest paying job he ever had was $30,000 in the 70s as a UPS worker, but he retired and left $70 million to his family because of the way he understood how financial intelligence would work. If you would have bought in the year 2000 $20,000 worth of Apple stock, you would be a billionaire right now. So
missed that boat.
So there's a lot of things, and I don't want to even pit and I to tell you, you got to go out and hustle and be an entrepreneur. No, you don't. I'll tell you what to do. Learn how the stock market works. Put your money over there and invest in other brilliant minds, because they ain't going to take Steve Jobs' ass and dust him off and ask you any questions or any way to solve Apple, or invest in Elon Musk or some of these brilliant people. So there's so many ways to get your hustle on, as long as you educate yourself on how you're going to do it.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, but with that, Daymond, you know what? One more question, because you mentioned that you were dyslexic, and I have some loved ones that happen to be dyslexic, and I was breaking it down to them like, no, that means that you're very special, because a dyslexic mind is a very powerful mind, and if you look at the folks that are dyslexic, are very, very successful in the world. As far as, you have, off the top of my mind, Steven Spielberg, yourself, but there's a line that you guys could look up. So how was it that you, number 1, figured that out, and then number 2, overcame it?
So I agree with you, and a lot of people don't know 8 of the 12 sharks are dyslexic. Me, Kevin O'Leary, Barbara, Richard Branson, Rohan Oza, and I forgot the other 3. I think Chris Sacca and various other things. I really didn't know I was dyslexic until I was more as an adult. Because when two-way pages came out and I started hitting people, they were like, man.
What's going on here?
Because when I wrote my mother a card, a letter when I called, she loved me. She was my mother, right? When the teacher answered something I wrote her, it was an F on it. And when I wrote a girlfriend a love letter, she left me. So I didn't know what was going on. But when I started publicly emailing and two-way cats was like, hey, homie, the word is cat. There's no cat like that. There's no E at the end of cat. So that's how I learned it. But I was so confident with myself.
It's not easy. I definitely know it's not easy when you're prioritizing yourself. There we go. I got it. When there's a lot on your plate. So investing in your mental health has a long-term benefit. And with Talkspace, it can actually be affordable. With Talkspace Online Therapy, it'll connect you with a licensed therapist for a fraction of the price of in-person therapy. Get matched with your perfect therapist from the comfort of your device and reach out 24/7 whenever there's something on your mind. Best of all, an entire month of Talkspace costs about the same amount as a single in-person session. Talkspace has thousands of licensed therapists trained in over 40 specialties, including anxiety, depression, relationships, and more. The bottom line is that we all need someone to talk to. Talkspace wants to give us the support we deserve at a price we can afford. As a listener of this podcast, you get $100 off your first month of Talkspace, and that'll match you with your perfect therapist. Go to Talkspace.com or download the app. Make sure to use the code Pitbull to get $100 off. That's right. Make sure to use the code Pitbull, Pitbull, to get $100 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Pitbull and Talkspace.com.
But, I'm going to tell you something, because if any parents are watching, especially if kids are watching,
Absolutely.
Two challenges with dyslexia. There's a lot of brilliant people there, but there are also a lot of brilliant people that are dyslexic that are incarcerated. Seven presidents were dyslexic. 85% of professional chefs are dyslexic, and Einstein was dyslexic.
Wow.
It's a new form. It's a different form of learning, because generally hieroglyphics and the human race has studied that. But if you're in second or third grade and you're dyslexic or you have a lack of hearing, you don't want to go, huh? Because what happens is, of course, kids are kids, and sometimes they may say, oh, you got me, whatever the case is. But you live in the hood, you don't have resources around you, and you brilliant, the cats are going to be like, yo, I don't care if you know how to read or write, or you good. Come over here and help me make some money on this corner. I got some money for you. So for the parents out there, if you think a kid is dyslexic, because there's no drug like ADHD or ADD, that a drug that can address it so they can advertise to obviously get you help. And the only way you can cure dyslexia, or not cure it, adjust it, is for the kid to learn a different way and educate and work harder. Yeah. Make sure you understand, that is just something that we should address. But it's also a gift, because every book I read, I had to read it 5 times to make sure I absorbed everything. And if I didn't absorb it, if I could do it, I'd go out and try to do it.
What's crazy, Chico, is you say that all the time. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as dumb. It's just kids learn differently.
We all learn.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That happened to me on the radio. I would have to read a script on the air to cut a commercial 4 or 5 times before I could actually do it and perfect it. Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there, and I'm glad you guys touched on this, because I guarantee you there are people watching this podcast right now going, oh my God, that's me, or that's Pepito, or that's such and such. Yeah. And this is truly from a negative to a positive. Because just think about it. People are watching this going, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's when you own what you got going on, figure it out, and don't look at it like it's some kind of problem. Like I tell people all the time, there's no losing, only learning. There's no failure, only opportunities, and there's no problems, just solutions. So once you make it a solution and you own it, it's like, I'm dyslexic, man. Look what I got going on. They're going, oh, my bad. Okay, it's when you let people come down on you.
Once you tell people, and you're a little vulnerable about what's going on, I'm so forth and so on. The cats that want to mess with you. If you be like, yo, listen, here's what's going on in my life. I'm busting my butt, but so forth are going on. And I'm going to tell everybody right now, everybody got a pass right now because of COVID. Yeah. Everybody got a pass. So if last year you was like, man, I don't want to tell people about my failure because they're doing so well. Yeah, exactly. Everybody gives you a pass right now. Listen, I'm doing really great. I'm down from 5 panic attacks to 2. I'm doing 7:35 in the morning, 8:35 at night. Everybody got a pass right now.
Yeah. Hey, well, Daymond, man, I don't want to take up more of your time. I want to tell you, man, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Yes,
you can definitely count on me for a Black Entrepreneur Day and anything that you need. We're going to keep it going.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Hey, I appreciate you. For sure.
Thank you, Daymond.
So with that said, man, stay safe, stay blessed, and keep knocking out the park, Papito. I'm always proud of you, man.
Thank you, brother. Love you.
Yeah, love you right back, man. Dale.